Hello, this is a training video for the Office Manager seat on your ESI eConsole. Now, you are still going to type in the same URL, which is my.esihs.net, and also your login credentials will remain the same. So it will still be your extension followed by your domain name and whatever password you have created or was assigned to you. So when you log in, you're going to notice that it looks totally different from what you're used to seeing. However, before we go into the Office Manager seat, if you go to the top left where your name is and click the drop-down menu and click My Account, it will switch you back over to your individual user account. So you now have access to the two and you can toggle back and forth between both. However, every time you log in, it will put you straight into Office Manager mode. But to switch back to your Office Manager seat, click on the drop-down menu again and select Manage Organization, and it will put you back into Office Manager mode. Now let's go ahead and go over the home screen. Now on the top, you will notice a box that says Current Active Calls. This will allow you to view all current phone calls in real time in your organization. Also, down here, it's showing you current meetings. So anyone that is currently in a meeting or on a conference call, you will see that in real time as well. And you can also see who or who is on those calls by clicking on these numbers. For example, if I click on this number 3 here for Dan's conference call, I can see everyone in that call and how long it's been going on. Another thing you will notice in the normal phone calls is this listen in button on the right. What this button allows you to do, it allows you to listen in on phone calls. Usually this is used for training purposes. But when you click on the listen in button, you will then the system will call you at your phone first. So you will need to be next to your phone when you click on this button. And the reason being is when your phone starts to ring, you will need to answer it. And once you answer your phone, you will then be listening in on that phone call. So I'm going to click on this button. And as you're listening in on that call, you will notice a window below that says Audio Monitoring. This is telling you now that you are listening in on that phone call. You're going to see two options, Join Call and Whisper. If I click on Whisper, the system will allow me to talk to my coworker at extension 2442. So for example, if he's a new employee and he needs help with a phone call, I can walk him through the call and the person on the other end of the call will not be able to hear me at all. If I click the Join Call option, it will then put me into the phone call and we will be on a three-way phone call at that point. Below, you're going to notice your call graph. And basically what this shows you is your call peak activity and for specific dates. But you can filter what information is displayed in that graph. Also, you can print these records out as well. And on the right side, you will see the number of users and applications being used and also your usage statistics. So now we're going to go to the Users tab. Users is where you will go to make any changes necessary to any of the coworkers in your organization. So let's go ahead and select AJ, for example. And you're going to notice these options up here. These options are the same options that you have or everyone has in their individual accounts, all of which they can edit on their own. However, you now have access to make these changes for them as well. So in the profile, you can edit or change that user's name. You can enter the department they work in, select the time zone, and these two options are for the dial by name directory in the auto attendant, which we will go into later on. But if you check this box and there is in fact a dial by name directory in your auto attendant, what this will do is it will announce their name that they recorded when they set up their personal voicemail if the caller selects them from the dial by name directory. This lets them know who they're selecting. The list and directory, this will keep them listed as an available option in the dial by name directory. If you uncheck that box, they will not be an available option through the directory. You can also see the area code, caller ID, and 911 caller ID that has been set as well. Now you can change that user's outbound caller ID if need be. Just be careful with this 911 caller ID because this is what is set in the event that someone does dial 911, the paramedics or police will know where to go specifically. This is the email address that the user's emails or voicemails, I apologize. This is the email address that their voicemails will go to if unified messaging is set up, which again we will go to in just a moment. And you can also add additional emails for those voicemails to go to as well. And then below you have their PIN number, which can also be changed by you or the user. Now answering rules. So everyone by default is set to ring for 25 seconds. If that individual does not answer their phone after 25 seconds, then it will go directly to their voicemail. You can also set up call forwarding options for that user as well, which I will go more into detail later on. You can also edit their voicemail settings, but again, they can do this as well. However, they do not have access to this information. So you can see the number of messages the user has in their phone, and you can clear their messages out for them if need be. You will see the number or amount of megabytes they have available, which is usually 250 for a user. And you can see how many megabytes of that memory is being used. Now the clear data button will clear out their messages, but it will also clear out their voicemail greeting and their recorded name. So the only time you probably want to use that option is if that employee is no longer with the company and you want to clear it out for the new employee. Below is unified messaging. This is your voicemail to email feature. You can opt to have a hyperlink sent to the email or that user's email whenever they receive a voicemail, or you can select one of the three below. Send with attachment, leave as new is usually the default setting, which means send with attachment, anytime that user gets a voicemail, that audio file will go into their email so they can open it and listen to it as long as they have speakers on the device that they're using. Here in parentheses is what's going to happen to that voicemail and that user's physical phone once it reaches their email as an attachment. So for example, if they have send with attachment, leave as new enabled, even if they open the voicemail and listen to it and delete it through their, or listen to the email through their voicemail and delete it, it's still going to leave it as a new message on that user's phone, which means they will still have to go to their phone and clear it out from there as well. The second option is move to saved, which is telling you it's going to automatically save that voicemail once it goes to the email or their email. And the third option is move to trash, which will automatically delete the voicemail from the phone. Basically, they will only receive their voicemails in their email. If the user does not want that option enabled, they can select none on their own, or you can select it for them. If they are a Premier user, this is where you can enable or disable their voicemail transcription. Voicemail transcription basically is if they get a voicemail, they will get a transcription of that voicemail in their email. And then the Phones tab will let you view the status of that user's phone. So let's go ahead and select a different user here. Okay, so usually what you'll see is the extension, the phone model, IP, and MAC address. And if they have an ePhone Go application or maybe the web phone option, you'll see it down here in the second line as well. Now, we're going to come back to the users to cover the system users, but I just wanted to cover the basics of the users and how to edit them when need be. Now, the premier user, which is usually the office manager, does have their own conference bridge. And if you are needing the phone number to your conference bridge, you can always find it in the inventory tab, which we'll go to for just a second. Now, here in the inventory, you're going to see all of your direct dial phone numbers. Okay, you'll see the numbers that ported over from your old system, as well as the new phone numbers that came with your new system. Here on the right side, you're going to see who and what those phone numbers have been assigned to. So, for example, the Aggies conference bridge, this is the phone number to that conference bridge. So this is a phone number that you will give out to all external callers that will be calling into your conference bridge. Now let's go back to conferences, and let's just go ahead and select, let's say, Bob's conference bridge. So in here, you can edit or change the name of your conference bridge. This is the extension that it's assigned to. This is the leader pin. So this is the pin number that you or anyone starting the conference call will enter. And the participant pin is the pin number that you will give out to any caller or all external callers. Minimum participants to start by default is set to 2. And what this is telling you, this is the minimum number needed of callers for that conference call to start. Now, let's say you raise that minimum to 5 and only 4 people call into your conference bridge. The conference call will not start until this minimum has been met. So 2 is usually the best number to keep it at. These options below, these are user preference, but this first box requires a leader to start. So if the callers call in before you and this box is not checked, the conference call will start without you. But if this box is checked and they call in before you, the callers will be on hold until the leader calls into the bridge. This option will prompt participants to record their names as they're joining the conference call. And the purpose of that is if this box is checked, it will announce their recorded names as they're joining or leaving the phone call. I will come back to these 3 in just a moment. Now, music on hold is where you will go to upload any hold music that you want to add to your domain. So if you have a specific file or an audio file that you want to use, all you have to do is click the Add Music button, browse your computer or whatever device you're using, and upload the file that you want to use. Also, keep in mind, you will have to name the hold music or it won't let you go any further. Now, the call history is similar to the call history in your individual account. However, there are going to be a few minor differences. The first obvious difference is you are now looking at all phone calls for your entire organization, whereas in your individual account, you were looking at only your 90-day call history. Another difference is you will see the quality of service. So 4.5 is telling you that that was an excellent phone call. There was no static or anything like that that interrupted the call. But just like anything that's connected to the internet, you will run into a few hiccups here and there. For example, this call here, that's telling us that maybe there's a little crackle or something wrong with the audio, which is perfectly normal. But if you see it constantly dropping below 4.5, then that's telling you that there is an issue maybe within your router firewall settings that need to be adjusted, or it's a poor signal coming from your internet provider. So you will have to contact your IT service to troubleshoot the issue for you. Call recordings. Now, if you have the bulk recording option, you will see all recordings listed out in here in bulk. And you will see a download option on the right for you to download the recordings as well. And then button mapping. So just like your individual account, you have access to your phone's button mapping. However, you now have access to everyone's phone. So if an individual user needs changes made to the speed dial keys of their phones, just select that user's phone, and you can now make the changes necessary. You cannot, unfortunately, make those changes simultaneously for all phones at once. It has to be done individually. Okay, so now we're going to cover auto attendance, call queues, and time frames. So the purpose of time frames, that allows you to create, let's say, for example, a daytime time frame and also an after hours time frame. And for those time frames, you can select where the calls go during the day and also where those calls go during the night. So let's go ahead and go to time frames, and we're going to create a business time frame and a nighttime time frame for all inbound calls. So to do so, we're going to go to Add Time Frame, and we'll just name this one Demo Day. And you're going to want to click on days of the week and time. So let's say, for example, your business hours are Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. So for the daytime business hours, you're going to select those 5 days of the week, and you will now select or slide the bar to the time for opening and closing, just like that. And then over here on the right, it's always set by default to 5, but if you leave at 5:30, then, for example, you move it to 5:30 and so on. Okay, and then you will just set all 5 days of the work week to whatever time it is that you work. So we'll go ahead and save that one. Now we're going to create our after hours time frame. So we're going to go to Add Time Frame again, and we'll name this one Demo Night. Again, we'll select days of the week and times. Now this is going to be a little different when creating the after hours time frame. This time you're going to select all 7 days of the week. And you're going to completely fill in the weekend because that's when you want your after hours time frame to kick in. Now, for the weekdays, you're going to click on the Add Range button, and I will explain why. Just like the weekends, you want to move all of these to the ends just like that. And in the middle, you will select or enter your business hours. So 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. for each single day. So once you do this, or the purpose of adding the range is these additional blue bars, this is telling the system to follow the after hours rules for these specific times within the blue areas. So we're going to go ahead and save this one for now as well. You can also create times or time frames for holidays, for example, Memorial Day or July the 4th. So to do that, we're going to create another time frame, and we will name this one Demo Holidays. But this time we're going to select specific dates or ranges. And when you click on that, it's going to give you these two spaces here. So you're going to click on this calendar on the left, and you're going to create or select the first day that you plan on closing your business down for that holiday. So for example, May 31st, which is Memorial Day, we'll click on the 31st. And when you click on that date and you leave the calendar, you're going to notice it stays open. So you can just click anywhere out here, and it will automatically populate the second box. Now, I do know, as you can see, that time is not correct. However, when you save it, it will automatically correct that time for you. So let me give you an example. I'm going to go ahead and save it, and we're going to locate that demo holiday time frame, which is right here. And as you can see, the time automatically corrected itself. Now, the nice thing about this is you don't have to make a time frame for every single holiday, because if you did, you'll have a huge list of holidays listed in your time frames tab. So all you have to do is click on the Add Date range, and you can start adding all your holidays that you plan on closing the business down for for the entire year. Now, keep in mind, you will have to go back and clear out all the other ones that have been used because the system does not remove them automatically. Another nice little trick is, let's say you're not completely closing for Memorial Day, maybe you're closing early instead. If we reopen the calendar, if you notice down here, there's an hour and a minute. You can select the specific time that you want that time frame to kick in, instead of it being active for that entire date. Okay, so we just created our time frames, which we'll come back to in just a moment. So now we're going to go to the auto attendance. So auto attendance, that's where you create the recording. Let's say the caller calls in and you call into a business and you hear the recording that says, "Thank you for calling ESI. For customer service, press 1. For sales, press 2, and so on." That's what your auto attendants are. So let's say you're ready to create your auto attendant. So we're going to go to Add Attendant, and we're going to name this one. We'll just name it Demo Day Auto Attendant. Now, usually when you create your auto attendant, you want to keep it in the 4000s range. So the first one you create would be extension 4000. The second one would be 4001, and so on. But in this case, since we have so many in here, obviously we'll just use random numbers. Now we're going to select a time frame. When selecting a time frame for your auto attendant, always select default all the time, never select a specific time frame. Now, when we click Add, it's going to take us to the recording menu or editing menu. So here in the menu prompt is where you will record the greeting you want your callers to hear when they call this auto attendant or reach the auto attendant. This is the recording where you will tell those callers what buttons to press and for who. So again, for example, for John Doe, press button 1. For sales, press 2, and so on. But to get your recording set up, you're going to press the Manage Audio button or select the Manage Audio button, and it's going to take you to this menu. If you have a file already recorded, then all you have to do is click the Upload option, give it just a basic description, for example, greeting. You can now browse your computer or the device you're using and upload the file that you want to use. Or if it's going to be a fresh recording and you need to record it from scratch, just click the Record button. And when you select Record, again, you'll have to name it. And it will pull up your extension by default. And the reason it does that is because when you click the Call button, the system is going to call you at your extension. When you answer your phone, it will then prompt you to record your new greeting. This will be the greeting that your callers hear anytime they reach this auto attendant. Now, keep in mind, since you can access this site from anywhere, whether you're on your laptop, your tablet, and you're out at a friend's house or on vacation, you can access this site remotely. But obviously, if you don't have your work phone on you and you click call, you have no way of answering it. So you can enter your home phone number, cell phone number, or even a different extension for the system to call you at to record your new greeting. And that comes in handy, especially if there's inclement weather. No one's able to make it to the building. You can have it call you at home and let the callers know that you're not in the office for the day, whatever the case may be. Now, once you record that, you'll see a playback button and a download button on top of this one as well. So that playback button will let you listen to that recording to make sure it sounds okay. The download button is very important because let's say you're going to temporarily change the recording you have in here for an upcoming holiday. Before you change that recording, download the recording you have in here first. Because if you go straight to recording your new message without downloading what you have in there first, you will overwrite that message and you will end up having to re-record it all over again. And the purpose of downloading it is so that way when you're ready to use that recording again, all you have to do is click the upload option and browse your computer and upload that file that you downloaded originally. Once you've got your recording done, you want these buttons to match whatever it is you're telling them to press in this recording. So I'm going to show you the options that you can add to the dial pad menu for the callers to select. The first option is user. If you want to add a user's extension to any of these buttons, just select the user icon, and in this box, you will type in their extension or their name, and now when that button is pressed, it will ring that user's extension. If you decided you didn't want them on button 1, maybe you want them on button 2, then to delete a button or remove it, just click on it, select remove, and it will clear that button out for you. The next option is your conference bridge. Now, this only comes in handy if you have the calls directed to your auto attendants. But you can actually program your conference bridge to any of these buttons. So instead of them having to dial the full 10-digit phone number, all they have to do is press the button at the auto attendant and it will send them to your conference bridge. Now, call queues, which we'll go into in just a moment, another term you can use for them is call groups. So for example, if you have a sales department call queue and you have 5 people in the sales department, if the caller selects that button, then it will ring all users' phones that are in the sales department or in that call group. And again, I will go into the call queues in just a moment, and it'll make more sense when we get to that part. This is your dial by name directory. So if you remember, I showed you under the user's profiles, you can select list and directory and also announce an audio directory. So if you say in your main greeting, for a dial by name directory, press 1. When the caller presses button 1, the system is going to prompt the caller to type in the first 3 letters of that user's last name. So for example, if they type in CHA, first 3 letters of my last name, what's going to happen is the system will play the recorded name that I set up, that I recorded when I set up my personal voicemail greeting. That's how the caller knows who they're selecting. The next option is voicemail. Now what this does, if the caller selects that option, that user's extension will not ring. Instead, it will forward that caller directly to that user's voicemail. Voicemail management is for company use. So let's say, for example, one of your employees wants to listen to their voicemails. So when they call into the company, all they'll do is press button 1. And when they press button 1, it's going to ask them to type in an account number. When it says account number, it's referring to that user's extension. So they'll enter extension 123. Then it's going to ask them for their password. And once they enter their password, they will then have access to their voicemail messages. The next option is external number. Now, this comes in handy if you want to add an after-hours answering service or maybe an on-call field technician that works after hours, or maybe an emergency phone number for doctors or nurses. But when entering that external phone number, never put a 1 in front of the phone number. Only enter the area code and the 7-digit phone number. The reason we tell you not to put a 1 in there is because when you save the number, the system automatically puts a 1 in there for you. So if you add a 1 on your own, you're going to have 2 1s in front of that phone number, and it will not dial properly. Play message also comes in very handy. So let's say you say in your main message, for hours of operation and directions to our office, please press button 1. So when the caller makes that selection, it will play back whatever recording you've uploaded or recorded for that option. The next option is repeat prompt. This will allow the caller to repeat this message over again for them. And then the last option is add tier. When you select add tier, it will give you a sub auto attendant. So let's say, for example, you tell the callers in this main greeting, for additional options or to hear this in Spanish, please press 2 or 1 or whatever button is programmed to. It will then direct them to this sub auto attendant where they will hear an additional recording, and they also have additional options to choose from, all of which are the same with the addition of the previous menu option. So you can say in your main recording, to go back to the previous menu, please press button 3, and when they make that selection, it will send them back to this auto attendant. So once you've programmed the recording, or you're done with your recording and you're done programming the dial pad menu, the last thing you will edit in your auto attendant is the options button. So we're going to click on options, and it's going to open this window. The first one you're going to see is enable dial by extension. Now, keeping this box checked will allow your callers to make their selection anytime this recording is playing. So for example, if you have a regular caller that already knows the button they need to press, or they already know the extension they want to select, this allows them to make that selection during that recording. If you uncheck this box, they will have to wait until this message is done playing every single time before they can make a selection. Now let's say they listen to the entire recording and they don't make a single selection, they don't press anything. This is saying if no key is pressed, it's going to repeat the greeting prompt, which is the default setting. However, you can have it hang up on them if they don't make a selection, or you can have it follow any of the buttons that you have programmed to the dial pad menu, for example, button 1. And you have the same options to choose from if they press an unassigned key. So if that caller presses any of these buttons that has nothing programmed to them, you have the same options to choose from. All right. Now, that's our daytime auto attendant. Again, you can also create a nighttime one as well. So let's say we want to make a nighttime auto attendant. So we'll name it Demo Night Auto Attendant. And we'll just make this one that extension. And again, we're going to select default all the time and add. And it's the same thing. You'll record your recording, program the dial pad accordingly, and then edit your options if need be. Okay. So we've created our auto attendants, we've created the time frames, and I will show you how to put those to use in just a moment. So now we're going to go to the call queues. So your call queues, think of them as call groups. So let's say, for example, your main phone number or your main company phone number is aimed towards a call group. And in that call group, there's a specific number of extensions that you want to ring. So we're going to go ahead and create a new call queue and add users to it. So we're going to go here to add call queue. And let's just go ahead and name this one Stevens call queue. Now, just like the auto attendants, which follow the 4000s range when creating the extension, the call queues, we usually keep them in the 3000s range. But again, since we have so many here in our demo one, we'll just make up a random extension. Okay. The department, you are more than welcome to fill in the department, so you can put billing, sales, or whatever it is you want in there. Now, the ring type is very important. This will determine how those users' phones will ring within that call group. The first of which is round robin, which will ring the first available agent's phone that has been in idle the longest. Ring all, this is the most commonly used one. This will ring all users' phones available for a phone call simultaneously. Linear hunt, you can select the order in which each user's phone rings within the call queue. Linear cascade is similar to linear hunt. However, instead of putting them in an individual order, you're putting them in orders in groups. So let's say, for example, you have 10 people in the call queue. You want the first 2 people's phones to ring first. Then you have a second group to ring second, third, and so on, however you want to customize it. And then call park will automatically place the caller on hold until there's an available agent to retrieve that call. So we're just going to go in and select ring all. And when you select a ring type, it's going to give you these options. So you can opt to have calls recorded within the call queue or not. And also the statistics. Okay, so if you remember on the home page, we were looking at the statistics on the right side. You can turn that off if you want to. So once you've done this, we're going to go to the next page. And these are your pre-queue options, the options before the caller is in the actual queue. Usually the only thing you're really going to edit in here is the music on hold and the forward if unavailable. And if you have any questions over any of these features, which honestly we recommend don't using, but you can if you'd like, just hover over the information button and it will tell you exactly what each one of these functions does. But queue and audio, this one is very important. If you leave it on music on hold, and let's say your main number is directed to this call queue, instead of that caller hearing ringing, it's going to automatically start playing whatever music, hold music you have in your domain. So you want to select ring back. So now when the caller calls that main number, they're going to hear an actual ringing instead of music. Now, forward if unavailable, if everyone in that call queue is not available, you can select an exit option. So let's say if they're not available, we want those callers to be sent to the auto attendant so they can make their selection from there. So we'll select the new auto attendant that we just created, which is the demo day auto attendant. Okay, and we'll leave it at that. Now we're going to go to the next page, and these are the options that it will follow when the caller is being routed to the agent. So for example, the queue ring time timeout. Okay, this is the number of seconds that the queue will ring each user's phones until they are considered unavailable or the calls are unanswered. Okay, and you can change the amount of seconds if you'd like as well, but 30 seconds is the default setting. If no one is able to answer those calls after 30 seconds, you can enter the exit option in here, which again would be the new auto attendant that we created, which is the demo day auto attendant. Also, you can enable or disable voicemails for the call queues if no one is able to answer. So now we're going to select add. All right, and we just added our new demo call queue. So now we're going to locate it. Okay, so here's my new call queue. It's Steven's call queue. It's extension 6523. The ring type is set to ring all, and currently there are 0 callers in the queue. Now, before I go into this, let's go back to the inventory. So again, the inventory is where all of your direct dial phone numbers are, your ported phone numbers, and also your new phone numbers that came with your new system. So what you're going to do is, let's pretend this is the main phone number for your business. This is the number that's listed on your website, maybe on billboards, wherever that number is listed. That's the number your customers are going to dial. This is the number that you want to assign to that new call queue. So we're going to select it, and under the treatment, you're going to select call queue. And now we're going to select the call queue that we want those callers to be directed to. So for example, Steven's call queue. Now, I'm not going to actually save this but again, I just want you to see how you're going to create this. But once you save that number to that call queue, what that's telling the system is when they dial that phone number, it's now going to ring all users' phones that are in this new call queue, okay? But right now, we have no users or agents in that call queue, so we're going to now add agents. But first, let me explain what these numbers represent. So you're going to see these numbers on the left and the numbers on the right. The numbers on the left, that's telling you the total number of users or agents that are in that call queue. The number in parentheses is telling you the number of available agents within that call queue for a phone call. So we're now going to start adding users to our call queue. And to do that, we can click on Edit Agents. Okay, so currently there are no agents assigned yet. So now we're going to start assigning people. So to do so, we're going to select Add Agent. And up here, you can click in this box. And when you click in there, it will automatically populate. And you'll see all the users that you can add in there. So anyone you want to add, just click on their name or extension. And you don't have to do it individually. You can just start selecting all the extensions you want to add to that call queue. Now, if you have users that have downloaded the ePhone Go app, you can also add those users as well. And you can know they're ePhone Go app users because they will have a lowercase m next to their name, similar to Greg Hargrove here. And that's telling the system to ring that user's ePhone Go app within that call queue. So we're going to go ahead and save these agents that we just added. Okay. Now, as long as they're in green, what that's telling the system is that when someone calls that number we assign to this call queue, or the main business number, it's going to ring everyone's phones that are in green. But you will see their names, their extensions, auto answer, which is currently set to no, wrap up time seconds, and maximum calls. So we're going to go ahead and select Ben Bishop down here, and we're going to select the Edit Agent option. So up here, you will see that user's extension and name, and then the status is usually online. But let's say you select offline for that user, okay? And we're going to go ahead and save that. What that does is it logs that user out of that call queue. So now if someone dials the main number, it's only going to ring these remaining users' phones, okay? That's why he's currently grayed out. But if we go back in here and log him back in by selecting online, you'll see him go green again. So now he's available for a phone call within the call queue. Now, keep in mind, when you log someone out, they can still use their phone like normal. They can still make outbound phone calls, and they can still receive calls that come directly to their extension. Now, wrap up time seconds. This will allow you to select the amount of time it takes that user's phone to ring again anytime they end a phone call. So for example, if we set Greg to 65 seconds, or I'm sorry, Ben, and he ends a phone call, his phone will not ring for the next 65 seconds. That gives that user that amount of time to catch up on emails or notes or whatever they need to do until their phone starts to ring again. Now, currently, everyone is set to answer one call maximum within the queue. So for example, if Ben answers a phone call right now, he's using his one phone call, he will then be read and considered unavailable because he's already maxed out. Now, depending on what phone model that user has, you can have them answer up to 2 phone calls, 3, 4, 5, or even 6. So let's just say, for example, we raise that number up to 2. And if Ben is currently talking to one person or only using one of his calls, he's still considered unavailable. But let's say he answers a second incoming call and he's now used up his 2 calls, then again, he will be considered unavailable. So again, depending on the phone model, you could go all the way up to 6 or just leave it at 1 or somewhere in between. Now, queue priority for agent. Let's say Ben Bishop is in multiple call queues. You can select the priority in which that user's phone rings for each call queue. Request confirmation. This will allow the caller to answer a call, and they can decide if they want to, they can accept the call or they can reject it. And then auto answer will automatically answer a call to that user's phone, automatically answering it after the first ring. Any changes you make to an agent, always select Save Agent, never select Done. And again, let me give you an example. So any changes we make here, always select Save Agent, never select Done, because then you'll have to go back over and do it all over again. Okay, so we're going to exit out of here for just a second. And we're going to change the ring type by opening the call queue. And we're going to go ahead and change it to linear hunt this time. Okay, we're going to go back to the agents. And now you notice the order option here. And currently everyone is set to ring first. So again, linear hunt will allow you to select the order in which you want each user's phone to ring within the call queue. So for example, if we want Greg's phone to ring third, then we'll open his edit options. And order in linear hunt is where you will select the order in which you want his phone to ring, Save Agent, and now his phone will ring third in the order. If we want Tony to ring second, we'll select second for Tony, and so on. So if these three users' phone or these three users are unavailable, it will automatically roll over to Tony's phone. If Tony is unavailable, then it will roll over to Greg. And then if all users are unavailable, then if you remember, it will follow the exit option, which is to the auto attendant, which I will show you how to set up. Okay, so now we're going to locate the same call queue, but under the Users tab this time. Okay, to save time, we can just type it into here. And we're going to select it as a user and go to the answering rules for that call queue. Under the answering rules for that call queue is where you can set up, is where you will set up the call routing. So when someone dials that main number right now that we have assigned to this call queue, all it's doing right now is just ringing the call queue. It doesn't know where else to go because we have to tell it now where to go. So now we're going to utilize the new timeframes and auto attendants that we just created. So first, we're going to add our business timeframe and tell the calls where to go during business hours. And to do that, we're going to select the Add Rule button, which will open this window. So it's telling me to now select a time frame. So in the drop-down menu, we can select the new time frame that we created, which is Demo Day. And for those business hours that are within that time frame for the daytime, which was Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, first thing you want to select is always, and always enter the extension for your call queue first. And let me explain why you're going to do this. This is telling the system whenever someone dials your main business phone number, it's going to always ring your call queue first. Okay? Now you're going to tell the system where you want those callers to go if everyone in that call queue that you just created is busy on a phone call, or if they're not able to answer, or if the phone lines are offline. So to do that, we're going to select when busy first, and we're going to tell the callers or the system where to send those callers if everyone in that call queue we created is busy. So for example, we'll do the new demo auto attendant we created, which is extension 6541. So When you select the auto attendant or type in the auto attendant name or extension, you're going to see 3 different options. Always select the one that says auto attendant. Okay. Now, if no one is able to answer those calls, we're going to select the same auto attendant. When offline, what that's telling you is, or what that's telling the system is, if your internet ever goes down or there's a power outage, you can put an exit option for that as well. Okay. However, keep in mind, you don't have to put an auto attendant or anything specific. You can always put an external phone number. You can put a user's extension for the calls to go to, or even voicemail. But this is just an example of how to set up your call forwarding. But auto attendants is usually what everyone uses. Now, the on active, please ignore that. This is for in-house use only. These are the only options you will see. So we're going to save this. Okay, so this is our daytime business hours call routing and how it's set up. So now when someone dials the main number, it's going to ring for 30 seconds, which can be changed, by the way. And after 30 seconds, if everyone is busy or not able to answer the call, or even if we're offline, the callers are now going to be sent to the daytime auto attendant, where they will listen to that recording and make their selection from there. So now we need to tell the calls where to go after hours. So we're going to go back to Add Rule, select our after hours time frame, which was the demo night. And this one's a little different. So now, for always, you're going to put where you want those calls to always go for after hours and the weekends. So we'll do our demo night auto attendant, just like that. And you're more than welcome to fill these out as well, which you really don't have to, because this is telling the system to always forward it to that one destination. But yeah, so that's what we're now telling the system to go to the day-night auto attendant. But again, if you have an after-hours answering service, you can put that 10-digit phone number in here. Maybe if it's a person on call, you can put their number in there as well, or have it go to a voicemail. Again, wherever you want those calls to go for those time frames you've created. But for now, we're just using the auto attendant. All right, so there's our new nighttime time frame. And we're now telling the system after hours and even weekends to send the callers to our nighttime auto attendant. Now we're going to add the new holidays time frame that we created. So again, we're going to go back to Add Rule and select the demo holidays. And just like your nighttime time frame, you will select where you want those calls to always go. So let's pretend we want the calls to go to an external phone number. So we'll just enter the area code first, and then the 10-digit phone number. Save it. And I apologize. Let's try this again. Okay, so let's go back to users. Again, I apologize. I don't know why it freezed on me. Okay, so it actually saved it. So now we're telling the system, for all those holidays or dates that we created, the system will always be forwarded to this person that is on call. Okay, but again, you can put an auto attendant, someone's voicemail, anywhere you want those calls to go. Now, one more very important thing about the holidays time frame. You're going to notice these triangles here. When you hover over them, your cursor changes. This allows you to select a priority for each time frame. So the holidays time frame, you always want it to have top priority. So you can drag it to the top, and it's going to ask you to save it, or if you're sure you want to save that. Once you do that, this is telling the system that you want this time frame in particular to have top priority over these other time frames whenever those dates or holidays arrive. Okay, so it's telling the system, hey, when Memorial Day comes around, these calls need to be forwarded to this phone number or auto attendant or whatever was entered for that option. Once that date is over, it will go back to following the normal business and after hours time frame. Another feature you may find handy as well that you can apply to the call queue under the answering rules is the allow block option. So you can have it notify you if any inbound calls are spam, okay, and you can select the following options, okay. If there are callers that have been trying to reach you and maybe they say, hey, it's telling me my number is blocked from reaching you, you can enter their phone number in here and add it, and it will allow that caller to come through. And if there are specific numbers that you want blocked, whether they're inbound or outbound, you can enter them in here, or you can also block all anonymous or unknown calls. But that covers all the features of your Office Manager seat. If you have any questions or run into any trouble when setting up your any settings in your Office Manager, you can call our customer support team, or you can even dial 611# from your ePhone Go app and even your desk phone, and it will contact you or send you straight to our customer support team, and they can walk you through anything you need assistance with through your Office Manager seat. But thank you guys, and enjoy your new Office Manager seat.